Hi, I'm Sonia Choquette. Welcome to my channel. And if you're new, please consider subscribing if you enjoy this experience. Today, I am going to talk about a question that comes to me pretty often, which is, well, what do I do if my life partner, my life mate, is definitely not my soulmate? Well, that's pretty common. You know, a lot of us who are on the spiritual path, we're deeply immersed in spiritual development, probably have been our whole lives, end up with people who seem to be disinterested, don't believe it, not on board, and then we think, oh my God, you are such an obstacle to my joy. I need someone who gets me. Well, I understand that. I definitely understand that if you're with a partner who isn't on board with your spiritual interests, it can really feel lonely and you can get very annoyed and polarized. In other words, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm elevated, you're low vibration, and that is not accurate. First of all, ask yourself, how did we end up in the first place together? Is because whomever it is you're with or partnered may have some qualities that serve you very well. Maybe your constant spiritual exploration is balanced by your partner's very grounded, very mundane, very practical attention to immediate earthly things like locking the door, putting the gas in the car, making sure the fence doesn't fall down, making sure the windows work. That's something you would never be interested in. So they are really of service to you in a complementary area. And the importance for you is to see their value, not just intrinsically, but to you. You didn't end up in this relationship necessarily because they're the completely wrong person. You're just forgetting and overlooking that they might be doing something that allows you the freedom to be so spiritually immersed. This next thing is that maybe they're serving as a teacher, because if we're going to be in a spiritual immersion and we want to live a spiritual life, let's remember the very first lesson of spiritual life is love yourself and others unconditionally. Now, don't get me wrong. We don't have to like others unconditionally. That's impossible. And it is okay to say, I don't particularly like your outlook, your behavior, your point of view, but you love their spirit. You basically are being given an opportunity to accept and allow someone to be themselves. You want them to do the same for you. Well, you go first. So what do you do with that? Well, my classic teacher was my mom, who was extremely spiritual, literally out of this world in terms of her interests. And my dad was the most mundane, practical, horse sense, common sense guy who never showed a lick of interest in anything spiritual. And what she would say to him when she would have an intuitive insight or need him to change course because of her inner guidance is she would look at him and say, please humor me. Please indulge me. My intuition says we should do this or that. And he would look at her and be given a choice. She didn't make him wrong. She asked him to allow, in his worldview, room for her difference. Humor me. He got to be gracious. One time we were driving home from the mountains on a family car trip, and we were all tired. It was noisy in the car, way too many kids. And my mom turned to my father and said, Paul, take the next exit and let's take the long way home. And he looked at her and said, are you kidding? It's noisy, we're tired. Why would you extend the trip? And she said, Paul, please humor me. Well, I was sitting right between the two of them, and he looked at her and shrugged his shoulders, shook his head, and off he went to the next exit because he wanted to do that for her. It wasn't like, I'm insisting, I'm right, do this, you don't get it, I'm intuitive, you missed at the boat, which was very tempting, but she didn't. Well, He took that exit, and 2 exits forward, there was a huge wreck on the highway, and the traffic came to a standstill, and people were locked there for hours where we just squirted right around and just avoided the whole disaster. But what I remember more than that is how my mom asked, humor me. She was pleasant. She was not judgmental. She was not making him wrong. She wasn't impatient. It's how she did their entire 50-year marriage, 60-year marriage, actually. It works. So don't look at the person who's not on board and make them wrong. They'll just get defensive and you'll polarize and become enemies. Say, we're different. We're just different. I'm picking up on something. I know you're crazy. You think I'm crazy, but put up with me. I love you. Please do this. It'll make me feel loved too. And then you'll begin to see that maybe that earth mate that seems so dense, so dumb, so hanging you back, so not on board with your interests, really is a wonderful platform for the party you're having in the higher realms. Maybe really grounded and helpful. Unless, of course, and this is another conversation for another time, it's an awful, hostile, toxic situation. If it's just we don't live in the same vibration and we're not in the same world, it could be complementary. So your life mate isn't to be discarded or made wrong. If you're basically helped and overall your life is grounded and peaceful and you work well together, allow for differences. Allow for the differences and respect. We're in different vibrations, but we're equally lovable, each having our own experience, and we could help each other by being loving, accepting, and using the right language when you do encounter differences of perception. Humor me helps. Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I'd love to see you again on our channel here where we talk about all kinds of wonderful, intuitive, expansive things that make your life magical. I'll see you again soon.